Jessica Davis, and welcome to Jazz TV. Tonight's show will feature the Michael Owcharuk Trio, with Michael Owcharuk on keyboards, Nate Amdahl on bass, and Mike Hams on drums. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks.
Thanks so much.
So, how long have you all been performing together?
Well, we've been performing for about a year now. We started rehearsals of original material last summer, and then started our first, we had our first gig in December of last year, and then had a CD release party in February, and then played a lot of concerts and toured this summer since, and going strong, and yeah.
So far, so good.
So far, so good.
Yeah.
How did you come together as a group?
We met at Cornish. We all went to Cornish College of the Arts, and Mike and I were in the same class. Nate was a class ahead of us, and we've been playing together pretty much in different situations since we met, and in different configurations. And these two guys would play, you know, in one project, and he and I.
You guys had
Mike
one.
And I, we had one, different things, and just kind of all came together after everybody got out of school.
And where can people hear you perform at?
We play at the District Lounge on Friday nights. We play at the Sorrento Hotel on Thursdays. And Nate, you play there. What are the nights do you play
I play there Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays from 6 to 10.
Any,
We
where else?
played Egan's.
Played Egan's Ballard Jam House a lot as a trio. We played at the Chapel Performance Space, which is a new performance venue in Wallingford. Really nice, great piano. And we've also done, you know, we do the corporate gigs and the casual gigs together as much as we
We
can.
made it out to Spokane a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
Just did a couple of little casuals, but that was nice. And just wherever we can find a piano.
Yeah.
What's your most recent project that you've been working on?
Well, we just recorded a sextet. It's the three of us with Jim Knodel on trumpet, Beth Fleener on clarinets, and Jacob Breitbach on violin. We did 5 original pieces by me, written by me, and then 1 piece by Jim Knodel. And that was at the Jack Straw Studios. They were partially funded by a grant that they awarded us. And we're really looking forward to that. That's going to be released in this December, hopefully, if everything comes together nicely. It's moving along well, and it's going to be mixed, and then we're going to have it all sent off to disc makers and have the CDs made and stuff. And we're shooting for Jazz Alley for a CD release party with another great artist. Eric Vaughn would be a double bill, who is our actually fabulous piano player here in town.
So, what are your impressions of the jazz scene here in Seattle?
What do you think, Mike?
That's great. You know, it's really a nice community feel for a lot of more avant-garde and, you know, traditional as well. But you know, it's a nice growing community that's really embracing a lot of new sounds and a lot of mixtures of genres, and it's good support.
There's a lot of really cutting-edge stuff going on in Seattle right now. Might be a little underground, but there is a really, really vibrant artistic community in Seattle right now, and I think that the rest of the country's gonna know about it real soon. There's just some amazing stuff happening.
That's great.
It's been cool to be able to do original music and have places really accepting of original jazz, where it seems to be the prevalent trend, I think, is towards a little more of the preservationist thing happening. But here, people are open to all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, we're always surprised how receptive an audience will be. You know, we'll show up at a place, and for whatever reason, we'll have a certain impression of it. But by the end of the night, usually everybody's had a good time, including us, and that's I think all you can really ask for at the end of the day.
That's great. So, how would you describe your sound as a band?
Wow, we talk about that. I'm sure each one of us have a little bit of a different spin on it. I've been thinking about it, and that's this is the long-winded answer for you, but that's kind of what defines the sound, is we all kind of come in from different places, and the awareness of that in the compositions and using that as part of a compositional element instead of something, well, you know, you have to do this more this way, or, you know, to kind of fit what I'm doing, or
Might be a good answer for your last question.
Yeah, yeah.
There's a lot of stuff going on.
A lot of stuff going on. But I would say that the elevator kind of pitch is that it's a trio that blends like the compositional sophistication of a chamber ensemble and then the individual creative freedom of a jazz combo coupled with the energy of a power trio. And so there's kind of the main influences there are chamber music and jazz and rock and roll kind of coming together to do its thing with to sound as big as possible for just 3 people, you know, and there's much going on.
Yeah, and all the derivations thereof. I mean, a lot of Latin music and African music, a lot of raw percussion stuff, and just, you know, improvised music, avant-garde stuff.
You mentioned that you all kind of have different backgrounds. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, I grew up in New York City and was exposed to a lot of Slavic traditional and sacred music. My dad was a choir conductor, and my mom sang in choirs and played the piano. And so on her side, I got the classical music from him. I got all this choral music. It's really beautiful. And I took piano lessons all my life and kind of got to where I am through that, and then kind of migrated to heavy metal for a little while and played guitar. When I was living up in Alaska, I think it had something to do with the cold and the dark. And moved here and found my way into the jazz world and really liking the music and liking what it did for me. And all the stuff I described earlier is still in me, and it kind of comes together now.
How did you end up in Seattle?
I traveled for about 5 years after leaving New York City. I grew up in New York City, and I lived in San Diego, I lived in Alaska, lived in Europe for a while, and traveled in Southeast Asia, and just kind of ended up here because I had the chance to do it. I really had no main direction in my life, and ended up being the right thing to do. So by lucky serendipity, I guess, brought me here.
And where's your background?
I grew up on the Olympic Peninsula, so I guess I'm as local as any of the 3 of us are. And I was exposed to, I guess he said he was exposed to Slavic music early on. I got marching bands real early on. So that and early jazz, you know, turn of the century type of stuff. It's real popular out where I'm from, and that kind of led me to get into doing weddings and that, you know, casual gigs and dances and stuff that's more from earlier history of jazz. But I guess my background's pretty traditional for a jazz bassist. But luckily I went to Cornish and met these guys and do some different stuff.
When did you start playing the bass?
I actually started playing the bass when I got to Cornish in 2001.
Oh, okay.
So like I said, it was marching bands and tubas and trombones up until that point.
Oh, okay. So how did you end up with the bass? Right before I moved to Seattle, it sort of luck would have it. A band I was in and a bass player were parting ways, and they just needed somebody for a gig in a couple hours. And wow.
The music's the same, written on the same lines and the same octaves, so it can be an easy study in the first little stage. It gets a little bit trickier after that, but I tell people that if you're destitute, you can get an electric bass and probably make some money.
I hear the phone ringing.
Yeah, no. Can you edit that part out?
And your background?
Well, I was born in Minnesota, in St. Cloud, which is a small college town. And I started playing music when I was like 5, piano and violin, and I also played upright bass for a couple of years. And I started playing drums when I was about 11 years old, and just stuck with it in all different facets, percussion, vibes, marimba. And then after high school, I moved out here to go to Cornish, and met up with these crazy guys and started making some crazy music. But it's, you know, I mostly listen to rock and sort of weird stuff, you know. Like Nate said, underground stuff, you know, and a lot of like 60s soul music and R&B and just different stuff.